Video games. Who hasn't heard of them? They can be fun to play, but not always in the way that they are intended to be played. Many people find fun in performing or seeing glitches in video games. But what are glitches? According to our good friend Wikipedia, a glitch is a short-lived fault in a system. It is often used to describe a transient fault that corrects itself and is therefore difficult to troubleshoot. To put it in layman's terms, a glitch is a bug in the coding of the game. It can make for some pretty interesting effects on video games. So today, I'll be going over some of my favorite glitches and some other glitch-related stuff. Most of these glitches will be on Nintendo games, since they're some of the most broken and popular games to play and to glitch. Now, some of the glitches I will be showing you are a little complicated, and you may be wondering, why would anybody find this? Or how? Well, to understand this, we need to learn about speedrunning. Now, speedrunning is when somebody tries to complete a video game as fast as possible. Each game has its own specific categories for speedrunning, but every game has an any percent category. Any percent means that the speedrunner is trying to get to the end of the credits as fast as possible. In almost every any percent category, you're required to do some glitches, and almost all of the glitches in this video were discovered for the purpose of speedrunning. Now that you know about speedrunning, there are some more important terms that I think you should know. This is a pixel. If we were to count how many pixels there are on one screen, it would be a pretty high number. And even though the example I use for pixel is a retro game, newer games also have pixels. They're just so small that you can't tell they're there. Now, I will tell you about frames. Frames are less than a second. That's the best way of putting it. If you know video games, you've probably heard the term FPS. No, not first-person shooter, but frames per second. Now, the word frames per second already describes it's how many frames are in a second, like how 60 FPS means one frame is a 60th of a second, and 30 FPS means a frame is a 30th of a second. The higher your FPS, the better. Sticking with our theme of frames, we have frame perfect. If something is frame perfect, it requires an input that can only be done on a single frame, which, as you already know, is a very short amount of time. Something I'll be mentioning later on is a TAS, or tool-assisted speedrun. A tool-assisted speedrun is a speedrun made with the help of a program that allows the user to edit the inputs made in each frame to essentially make the perfect speedrun. Tool-assisted speedruns are often well optimized, allowing the playback of the run to perform multiple frame-perfect tricks in a row. Some glitches are known as TAS-only glitches. TAS-only glitches are so complex that humans can't do it. They either require tens of hundreds of frame-perfect inputs in a row, or so many inputs in a short amount of time that a human just can't hit them all. Now that we've got the terms out of the way, let's go to the actual glitches. We'll start with Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. Now, I will be going over multiple glitches in this game, but I'll start with the orb glitch. Now, what this glitch allows you to do is to get the orb in your extra item slot. The orb is an item that can usually only be found in one level, and what the orb does is it ends the level that you are currently in. This glitch requires you to have Fire Mario and his friend Yoshi. Now with most of these glitches, I will be showing a clip and then explaining it afterwards. So let's roll the clip. Now this may look confusing, but once explained, it should make sense. Maybe. Now, this glitch can only be done in this specific part of Yoshi's Island 1. What happens is Mario kills the dinosaur enemy with his fireball, but jumps off Yoshi at the same time. If done correctly, Yoshi will try to pick up the coin that the enemy drops, as Mario collects it at the same time. Now, this is where stuff gets technical. Super Mario World's code has 12 slots for these sprites, and when a sprite spawns, like an item or enemy, it goes to the top sprite slot. These sprite slots are separated into two groups. Slots 00 through 09 are standard sprite slots, while slots 10 and 11 are items that come out of boxes and the item in your extra item box at the top of the screen. This glitch will replace the sprite of the coin that Yoshi picks up with a different sprite, and it can be used in many different ways. In this scenario, the game will find the closest sprite to take place of the coin that is no longer there. This just happens to be the Charging Chuck enemy, which is slightly off screen. If done correctly, this messed up image should be what's in your extra item box. Because this isn't a real item, the game has to find data from something else to use. The data chosen just happens to be the same as the orb in that one level. And because of that, using the item will end the level that you are currently in automatically. The reason you don't get a regular item is either because a coin can be found in the 10 or 11 sprite slots, which the Charging Chuck cannot be found in, or the fact that Yoshi isn't supposed to be able to eat the Charging Chuck, but it may be a combination of both. Sticking with Super Mario World, we have what's probably the most confusing glitch of the video, the credits warp. Now, how this was found is beyond me, but what happens is when the runner is doing these strange movements that seem to be wasting time, they are aligning Mario into pixel-perfect positions. If my description of pixel wasn't clear enough, each one of these small squares on the screen is a pixel. The runner is aligning Mario into these exact positions needed to get the warp to work. I do not know how or why, but these actions somehow rewrite the code. And when everything is written correctly, they collect a coin at the same time Yoshi tries to eat it, like in the orb glitch. Unlike the orb glitch, instead of getting an orb, the game will get confused and warp Mario straight to the credits of the game. Now, this may seem like a crazy thing to rewrite the code, but this is actually done in multiple other glitches. This is known as arbitrary code execution. Now, it may seem that I'm getting off topic, but I'd quickly like to talk about Games Done Quick. Games Done Quick is an online event where for one straight week in either January or July, multiple speedrunners get together to speedrun games and raise money for charity. The awesome Games Done Quick in January and the Summer Games Done Quick in July are very successful, with AGDQ 2017 raising $2 million for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. At every GDQ event, there is a task block, or tool-assisted speedrun block, where they show off impressive tasks. A staple of these task runs is to run Super Mario World, and have the task perform arbitrary code execution similarly to how it's done in the credits warp, but the results are much more interesting.
Right here he activates the glitch, and now he's feeding in program code and reprogramming the game. And hopefully it will work. Whoa.
What?
I don't know.
I've never seen that before.
It's a little glitchy.
Whoa! I have never seen that before.
The controller right there if you want to plug it in. And this is a fully functional Super Mario Bros. 1 that we reprogrammed into Super Mario World.
Another broken Nintendo series is the Legend of Zelda series. We'll start off our Zelda glitches with the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. We have another glitch in this game used by many speedrunners to break the game. At the beginning of the game, when Link has to explore the Hyrule Castle, the player can perform something called the Exploration glitch. From what I understand, this can be done in multiple ways, but the easiest way to do this is to be in Hyrule Castle on the second floor. In the main entrance on the second floor of Hyrule Castle, there is a platform where Link can fall to the first floor of the castle. While falling, the player needs to press select to bring up a menu. This menu will give you the option to save and quit. The player must save and quit in the middle of the air and reload their save file. For some reason, once this is done correctly, Link will be out of bounds and in the wall. Now, A Link to the Past works in a way where each level is one big map that scrolls from room to room. Now, Hyrule Castle happens to be the first and last level of the game, so here you can find the final boss and the Triforce. With precise movements, you can maneuver Link through the wall, either to the final boss or to the Triforce. The final boss will lead you to the Triforce, and the Triforce will trigger the cutscene that ends the game. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is many people's favorite Zelda game, and for a very good reason. Ocarina of Time was the first 3D Zelda game, bringing many new mechanics to the series. With research, and a lot of research at that, people have been able to find game-breaking glitches. What a surprise. I'm going to be going over all of the major game-breaking glitches in Ocarina of Time. We'll start with the Infinite Sword glitch, or ISG. ISG is achieved by finding an item that Link can interact with. While crouching, Link needs to stab his sword and immediately interrupt the attack by interacting with the object. When done correctly, Link's sword will glow white, meaning he is constantly swinging it at all times. Now the next glitch is called Ocarina items. An ocarina, or ocarina, however you pronounce it, is kind of like a flute. The ocarina is a very important item in the game, and this glitch allows you to use any item like it is the ocarina. In this glitch, Link needs to have a bottle containing either fish or bugs. The player needs to empty the bottle and quickly use the bottle again to refill it with the same bugs, or fish. Link must then backflip, press the button of the bottle, and then press the button of a different item before hitting the ground. If done correctly, he will be playing the item as if it were the ocarina. This last glitch, called the wrong warp, is the most important in speedrunning the game. Many games have wrong warps. They usually require the player to trick the game into thinking they triggered something that would bring them to a different level. However, the warp is not triggered and the player is able to do other things. The steps to a wrong warp will be different depending on which game you're playing, but in each case, it ends up taking you to a different place than the game was originally intending you to go. This means the warp brought you to the wrong place. Hence the name, Wrong Warp. The most important speedrunning wrong warp in Ocarina of Time is referred to as Ganon Door. The name comes from the fact that you use a door to trigger the wrong warp, and it either gets the Ganon from the fact that you skip the boss Ganondorf, or the fact that it brings you straight to the boss Ganon. And yes, Ganon and Ganondorf are different. After beating the first dungeon in Ocarina of Time, the player must perform ocarina items while triggering a blue warp that takes you out of the dungeon. If the player performed ocarina items in the very specific spot that they have to, the blue warp will rise into the air like it's bringing Link out of the dungeon, but Link will not go with the blue warp. Canceling the fake ocarina gives Link control after stepping on the blue warp, which normally is not supposed to happen. Wait, what's my line? By entering the only door in the room, Link will be brought to Ganon's collapsing tower for some reason. By the way, sorry if you didn't want to hear any spoilers for that 19-year-old game. Anyways, from there, Link can escape the tower and try to fight the final boss Ganon. However, this skips when Link grows up and gets the Master Sword, which is the only weapon that can defeat Ganon. Luckily, the Deku Stick item, which can only be used as younger Link, does the same amount of damage as the Master Sword for some reason. Doesn't make sense to me either. Why would a stick be as powerful as the world's most powerful sword? Ask the game developers. Using the ISG from earlier, Link can do a lot more damage to Ganon than he normally would be able to. And at the beginning of the fight, Ganon knocks the sword out of your hands. So the Master Sword just kind of appears, and Link can grab that and finish off the final boss of the game. With all these tricks done perfectly, someone can beat the game really fast. The world record for beating this game is 17 minutes and 9 seconds, which is probably what's playing right now. Now, this is the last complicated glitch I will be going over, and this is in the most speedrun game ever, Super Mario 64. This glitch is called the backwards long jump. The final fight with Bowser is guarded by an endless staircase, which goes on forever unless Mario has 70 stars. What really happens is when Mario gets to the top of the stairs, the game tries to detect if he has 70 stars. If he does not, it will loop the staircase again and again, forever. With the backwards long jump, Mario is able to skip the trigger to loop the endless stairs. To backwards long jump, Mario first needs to be facing away from where he actually wants to go. The player must then start to long jump and press A repeatedly on the controller. This will cause Mario to try to keep jumping, and he will fly backwards in a very fast manner. While moving so fast, if the player keeps pressing A, Mario will not stop until he hits a wall. He will pass over the trigger to loop the stairs and hit the wall that brings him to the final boss of the game. Finally, onto the simple stuff. No more being cluttered with knowledge. Now it's just funny, stupid things in video games. On most older consoles, cartridges stick out from the top of the console. If you pull the cartridge out slightly from one side of the console, it causes a strange corruption. This is known as cartridge tilting. Cartridge tilting can be done on most older consoles with cartridge games, but be careful, because it has the possibility to corrupt save files, meaning you lose all your data, freeze the game, or make it unplayable. Now I'll show a little clip of me trying to cartridge tilt in video games, and you can see, hopefully, how amazing it can be.
Seems to be doing the same thing, except Mike Tyson was a bit more visible. Let's see if this actually... Oh, this one actually starts up. Sorry for the shaky camera as I try to do this with one hand. Okay. Okay, that's the enemy. Got it. That's the first person I'm fighting. Oh. Oh boy. So your character usually moves left and right while standing still. So it seems that most of the screen is just my character. So that's interesting. I'll cut here because it's hard to tilt cartridges with one hand, but I'll try to tilt the other way, which seems to do more than just graphical glitches. So this is the final result I've gotten. As you can see, it's still pretty much the same as the other ones. Still, really shows what small amount of effort can do to a single game from the 80s. That's not the point. It's that there was still effort and the game crashed. That's the point.
Let's go to some of the buggiest games I've ever seen. These games are made by Bethesda. They are a subsidiary of the company ZeniMax Media. They've developed many good games, including the Elder Scrolls series and Fallout 3 and 4. They've also published many other amazing games, like Fallout New Vegas, Dishonored, their upcoming game Prey, the 2016 reboot of Doom, and ports of the original Doom 1 and 2 to newer consoles. So they're kind of a big deal. Now, they may be a big deal, as I just said, but that does not mean they're getting off scot-free. This first glitch is something that I encountered on my own playtime of Fallout New Vegas. I had never seen anybody talk about this before online, and when I died, my character's neck just kind of stretched out like a giraffe. Now, I know I've only mentioned one glitch in a Bethesda game, but I would like to take a quick intermission to talk about Two Worlds. Two Worlds is kind of like its competitor, The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and it even thought so well of itself that it decided to give itself the title of the Oblivion Killer, claiming that it would be better selling and a better made game. Now, this obviously is not true, because you've probably heard of Elder Scrolls, but who's heard of Two Worlds? It's even worse that the game can be beaten in 2 minutes. Yes, I know I'm bringing back up speedrunning, but this will not be a complicated thing to talk about. Now, the final boss of this game, which I know nothing about, happens to be in the first town that you get to. If you can just punch him, he would start to throw fireballs at you. Now, standing next to a town person as you're getting hit by the fireballs would also hit the townsperson in the damage radius. This would cause all of the townspeople to beat up the final boss of the game. And after a short amount of time, the final boss would die and it would trigger the end of the game. This was fixed in later updates, but I still find it amazing that nobody ever actually thought of that. Now, back to Bethesda. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, since they were both made with the same game engine, there is a precise trick where quick saving and quick loading while breaking your leg will cause the speed of your broken leg, which is 70, to add to the speed of your non-broken leg, 100, causing you to almost go twice as fast. Now, the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, the 5th Elder Scrolls game, is the most well-known out of all of them, so it's obvious people would have found a lot of glitches. The one that I want to talk about is the armor duplication glitch. Somewhere there was a mannequin, and armor could be duplicated by placing the armor on the mannequin, taking it off the mannequin, leaving the area and coming back, and the armor would still be on the mannequin. This glitch has since been patched in later updates. Our last glitch is in Fallout 4, where there was a random broken engine on the ground that would fly into the air if you held it and kept jumping. This glitch may have been fixed, I'm honestly not sure, but it was pretty good for getting a view of the world. One very well-known glitch lies in the original Sid Meier's Civilization game. In Civilization 1, or Civ 1 for short, you would build an empire and interact with other world leaders. Sid Meier, the developer of the game, made Gandhi so nice and tolerant in this game that his level of aggression would lower until it hit a negative value, which would reset the aggression to the highest value. making him extremely war-hungry and aggressive. Civ 1's Gandhi is mostly well known for starting nuclear wars, which is very ironic. The last thing I'll go over is the FIFA series by EA. Now, I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but this can make soccer much more amusing. How these happen? I don't know, but I also don't care. As you can see, in FIFA 14, there was a glitch that would make all the soccer players' hands really large. In FIFA 15, the goalie would turn into a headless giant with no arms. Yeah, if anything was learned today, it's that these soccer players must have very high medical bills. Now, there are many glitches I didn't go over, and I will likely not make another one of these videos, because I don't feel like it, I guess. This is my first time actually editing a big video like this, so I hope it's not too terrible. And I'd like to say to look out for glitches in any video games, because they can be amusing. I hope you've learned that they can be, at least. And I have nothing else to say. I'm not anyone who really likes to do cheesy outros, so